This is the WTIC Morning Show with Ray Dunaway, featuring news with Angela Diaz, weather with Joe Fury, complete road conditions from the WTIC traffic team, and sports with Scott Gray. We've got everything to start your day, so get up and get going. Here's Ray Dunaway on WTIC, News Talk 1080 and WTIC.com.
All right, good morning. Welcome. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Kind of a rainy morning, albeit a little bit light. Joe's getting excited, and that's always something to worry about. So now the question is not if, the question is in what form. Okay. I'm just saying, if you don't have somebody coming to do your driveway, you just might want to think about it. And this is purely on me. This is not Joe. Joe is offering no indication of that yet. But he's only 3 minutes away, so we'll see. Anyway, good morning. Welcome to the program. I am Ray Dunaway. We will, yes, of course, be doing a Johnson Brunetti Player of the Game at 7:20. And as you know, this is the 50th anniversary of the assassination of President John Kennedy in Dallas, Texas. And anyway, we'll talk a bit about that this morning. Phil Goduti is a professor. Adjunct professor, actually, at Quinnipiac University. And we'll talk about the president's place in history, this former president. Dick Bertel, as you know, one of the advantages of working at a radio station that's been around forever, like this one, we actually have audio from the archives of what was going on that very moment that the president was assassinated when the first word came in. It was really pretty interesting stuff. And one thing that will strike you, and I will put up a link to this, as a matter of fact, it's an hour-long piece off YouTube, and I'll put up a link to it at WTIC.com so you can listen to it. But I think one thing that strikes you, number one, as you know, the only video evidence, or the only visual evidence actually was film, was the Zapruder film. Okay, now can you imagine today, were this to happen? God forbid it does, but were it to happen today, do you know how much video would be out there within 20 seconds of it occurring? People with all their cell phones, with the cameras on their cell phones, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there would be more than you'd know what to do with, which probably would have helped solve what some believe is a mystery. Anyway, it's pretty interesting to listen to, and you can hear the guys here. It was not unlike it was for us on 9/11, when you're kind of sitting there and you know sort of what's happening, but you don't know a lot of details. And so you speculate and you guess, and it was even worse then because there weren't 24-hour cable channels. Wow. Anyway, Dick Bertel was in the middle of it, and he will be with us at 7:20. He was on the air at that time. And by the way, Dick's about 90 years old, and he is just sharp as can be. Whew. I wish. Anyway, Dick will be with us at 7:20 this morning. Also, TJ Wiest. We'll talk about the upcoming game against Temple, and we do have a restaurant of the week, and it'll be a special Thanksgiving deal that I think you'll enjoy. And speaking of which, we also have some more certificates from Big Y. So hang on. It's 5:37.
And now, the 5-day forecast with Joe Fury, brought to you by Companions and Homemakers, Connecticut's most trusted home care company. What they do is important.
Hi, good morning. Morning, Jimmy. All right, 5:40. A lot to talk about this morning. You know, back on this date, 1963, it was 63 degrees. It was a beautiful day, weather-wise. And, kind of reminiscent of what happened 9/11, where we had the temperatures that were beautiful, and the sky was beautiful that day. And not so nice out there this morning, although we could use some moisture. It's been very dry. We have some rain moving across. Need that umbrella this morning, or the rain jacket. We'll have wet weather this morning, but then things improve this afternoon. We'll have a warm front this morning, followed by a cold front, the first of two coming through this evening. So that might generate another shower briefly this evening as that front goes by. And then beyond that front, there's a little break in the action before the Arctic air really moves in as we go for late tomorrow night. So we're going to squeeze out a pretty decent Saturday, all things considered. And then Sunday is going to be your bitterly cold, windy day. And temperatures that probably stay in the 20s all day. And somewhere along the line there, tomorrow night into Sunday morning, there might be a snow shower or squall with the influx of Arctic air. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And then, of course, we're eyeing the storm out of Southern California to the Gulf of Mexico up the eastern seaboard. That will affect us Wednesday of next week. We have a very high confidence that we're going to get hit by this system. The big question we have right now is what form will the precipitation take? If the storm takes exactly the right track, there'd be enough cold air in place, and we would have probably a pretty good wet snowstorm. However, if it tracks right up towards us, then you're going to pull that mild air in off the ocean. It'll just be a rainstorm that'll come through. So again, it's too early to tell. Still too many days away to get the exact track down, because every time we look at our computer models, we keep seeing the different ideas with each and every run. So just stay tuned on that. For now, forecast details go like this. Grab the umbrella this morning. Rain this morning, and then cloudy and mild this afternoon. Temperatures probably low 50s, light west-southwest wind. Sun up 649 down to 424. Passing shower this evening, then clearing, becoming breezy 30s. Saturday, mostly sunny, breezy. Morning high, low 40s, and falling in the afternoon. 20s, wind chills down near zero tomorrow night. Stay in the 20s on Sunday. Sunshine and some clouds down from the lakes. Could be a snow shower somewhere in there, but the main story, the wind gusts over 40. Wind chill all day, single digits and teens on Sunday. And then mostly sunny, breezy, low mid-30s on Monday. Right now, we have light rain and 44 at Connecticut's weather station, WTIC, News Talk 10.
And this is a fairly big storm, right, Joe?
Ray, oh yeah, Ray, this storm's loaded with moisture. It's already brought an inch of rain to San Diego. Then it gets some Gulf moisture. Then it comes up the coast. And then, one of the computer models this morning has a 980 millibar low. That's below 29 inches near Cape Cod going for Wednesday of next week. Yeah. Again, all I can say is that, computer models are coming around and coming into a little more agreement, but right. Very fine line. These are the kind of storms is the reason why the hills get plastered with the snow and the coast gets nothing. That could be this type of storm. Yeah. But, and wind. The wind will be with it, too. But, for now, right now, precipitation type is questionable, but certainly the potential is there for somebody to get plastered with some heavy, wet snow.
And I was also thinking, if you're leaving Bradley on Wednesday.
Yeah, you've got to, plan accordingly on that one.
Yeah.
Most certainly.
Yeah. Good luck. We'll let you know. And
anybody leaving Sunday, too, you got to plan accordingly, because those winds on Sunday may affect travel as well.
Okay. Well, all right. Thanks, Joe.
Now, a WTIC News Update.
6:30. Good morning. I'm Angela Dias. WTIC 1080 News. This news sponsored by Connecticut Chevy dealers. A Coventry man has been ordered to get a psychiatric evaluation after allegedly making threats against President Obama and the president's family. Federal prosecutors say Joshua Klimas, a UConn engineering student, sent a message containing the threats to the White House website in June. He was arrested Wednesday. President Obama has ordered that flags be lowered at government buildings today to mark the 50th anniversary of President John F. Kennedy's assassination. Dallas, Boston, and Washington are approaching with reverence their planned commemorations. Today in Dallas, thousands of people will mark the day with a solemn ceremony in Dealey Plaza, where Kennedy was shot while riding in his motorcade. In Boston, the JFK Library and Museum will open a small exhibit of never-before displayed items from Kennedy's state funeral and host a private musical tribute. President Obama will meet privately with members of the Kennedy-established Peace Corps. 50 years ago, it was a day like any other on WTIC. John Silva takes a look.
We were getting ready for Thanksgiving on Mike Line.
When you get turkey, how would you make gravy?
Until Bob Ellsworth broke in.
I have something rather important from the WTIC newsroom in the form of a bulletin.
With the news,
President Kennedy is reported to have been wounded by an assassin in Dallas.
Information still in flux.
We will have further details as received.
The tenor of the broadcast then changed quickly.
Oh, my. Took my breath away.
I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News.
Kennedy cousin Michael Skakel is free on bail somewhere in Connecticut, while prosecutors appeal a ruling that gives him a new trial in the 1975 slaying of Greenwich neighbor Martha Moxley. A Stanford Superior Court judge set bail at $1.2 million, ordered Skakel to stay in Connecticut and wear a GPS monitoring device. Skakel's attorney Hubert Santos told reporters,
hopefully we are at the first step of righting that wrong and making sure that an innocent man now goes free.
A judge ruled last month that Skakel's attorney failed to adequately represent him in 2002 when he was convicted in Moxley's death. State labor officials say job creation stalled in Connecticut in September and October as employers nervously watched the federal government shutdown and budget impasse in Washington. The private sector added 1,000 jobs in October, despite the slight decline in overall non-farm jobs.
Positive, it's moving in the right direction, but it's not yet enough to drive down the unemployment rate to where everyone who is seriously looking for a job can find one.
Andy Condon, the Labor Department's research director, says non-farm employment fell by more than 4,000 jobs in September. The initial hours of a test of New Jersey's online gambling setup are turning up some glitches. The most prominent so far seems to be that testers well inside the state lines aren't being recognized as such. New Jersey's online program bars out-of-state players. Men's college basketball last night. It was UConn over Boston College, 72-70. In the NHL, St. Louis skated past the Boston Bruins 3-2. It was the Rangers over Dallas 3-2, and the Devils beat the LA Kings 2-1.
Footprint Shoes and Accessories in Newington has the perfect holiday gift for everyone on your shopping list. A fuzzy Ugg slipper for dad, a gorgeous Brighton handbag for mom, or a gift card for your heart to please aunt or uncle. Footprints has it all. And now receive a free pair of Bradley Zip ID case with every $100 gift card purchase. Fill the family stockings with the engineered foot protection of Thurlow socks. Now buy 3 pair and get 1 free. Footprint Shoes and Accessories, your one-stop holiday shop. Just off the Berlin Turnpike near Goodwill and Dunkin' Donuts.
It must be from Footprint.
Reform, exchanges, Obamacare. Are you confused? The Health Consultants Group are trained professionals, and they can provide you with the expert guidance to assure you that you're in compliance with the changing laws. Hey, don't wait. Whether you're a business or an individual, visit myhcg.com today for a free healthcare reform assessment. The Health Consultants Group.
WTIC News Time, 6:35. The murder trial of accused Colorado theater shooter James Holmes has been postponed indefinitely, pending more psychiatric evaluations. Reporter Rick Salinger.
Holmes has pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity and has already undergone a very lengthy court-ordered mental evaluation. The results of that have not been made public. But now prosecutors have asked for further exams to be conducted by 2 of their experts. They say those exams will be limited in nature.
Alabama's parole board has approved posthumous pardons for members of the Scottsboro Boys rape case. Correspondent Bill Whitney reports.
The case of the Scottsboro Boys in 1931 became a symbol of Southern racism. 9 black men, falsely accused of raping 2 white women in Alabama, were convicted by all-white juries. All but 1 were sentenced to death. 6 cases were later resolved, and now the Alabama Parole Board has granted posthumous pardons for the other 3. Better late than never, says Leisha Brooks of the Southern Poverty Law Center.
There's no kind of statute of limitations on justice. The right thing needed to be done. Alabama needed to make amends for what they took the boys through, what they took the community through.
Bill Whitney, CBS News.
The Texas Board of Education is refusing to approve a biology book that contains the theory of evolution. The board gave preliminary approval to new science books for use in classrooms statewide late Thursday night, but says the book by Pearson, one of the nation's largest publishers, needs to be checked by experts. The board will vote again on the issue later today. Finally, gamers everywhere are excited with Microsoft's latest rollout. Correspondent Jim Chenevy explains.
1 week after Sony began selling its new PlayStation 4 video game console, Microsoft hopes to upstage its rival with the new Xbox One. Matt Ferretti of Consumer Reports magazine.
The Xbox One, it has a lot more entertainment features than the PlayStation 4 does. As far as games go, visually, they're going to look about the same. Both are much better than the previous generations are.
It's Microsoft's first new game console in 8 years, on sale today. Jim Chenevy, CBS News.
Finally, for some airline passengers, it could be a big gain, but for others, the possibility of making cell phone calls in flight is the latest insult added to the injury of losing legroom, hot meals, and personal space over the years. The Federal Communications Commission is considering lifting its longtime ban. Airliners have been one of the last sanctuaries from a hyper-connected world. So, Ray, yay or nay for you?
I'm nay. I really am. Because I don't want to be sitting there next to somebody who's on their cell phone for 2 hours while I'm flying from here to God knows where. And the other thing is, now maybe you've done it. I know I've done it. You have your cell phone and you just want to see, could I get a signal up here? And so you turn it on for a minute.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to get a signal at altitude.
I know, you're right. I have tried that.
Yeah. We've all tried it. I know we're breaking the rules and endangering our fellow passengers, but you try it. Yeah. You get.
And then you just shut it right off.
Yeah, because you're searching. There's no service.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure this is a major breakthrough, but no, the other thing is just can you imagine being on a plane with 130 people, of whom probably half are on their cell phones doing these boring conversations? It's nice to have a little enforced quiet time. By the way, you want to hear something? This is kind of a depressing. We're going to be doing some things today about the anniversary of the assassination of President Kennedy 50 years ago. This from The Atlantic. Only a third of Americans were alive when JFK was killed.
Wow.
Bob, you weren't, right? So for you, it's history, right?
And that's funny for the people who were alive then. For so many, that day still is so vivid in their minds.
Absolutely. You know, I was pretty young at the time, but I do
So was
remember.
I,
So do
but
you. But yeah,
I remember very well.
But only a third. That's time marches on. 6:38 on WTIC.
So do demographics.
Yeah. 6:38 on WTIC News Talk 1080. Traffic and weather together on the 8s. Brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. Jerry Griswold is here from WTIC's Traffic Control. And a big good morning to you, Jerry.
And a big good morning to you, Ray. I mean, we have to travel with fear and trepidation today. The roads are definitely wet, and it is a kind of a precarious situation when our roads dampen up. In East Hampton, there is an accident investigation in progress. You're going to find it at the intersection of Route 16 right near Cedar Ridge Road.
WTIC News Talk 1080 welcomes the Connecticut International Auto Show to the Connecticut Convention Center November 22nd through the 24th. A lot of cars. And make sure you stop by the WTIC booth for your chance to crack the vault and win yourself $10,000 in cash. Plus, register for an amazing flyaway to Daytona Beach, Florida, where you'll experience the height of luxury Daytona Beach style at the Shores Restaurant and Spa and be immersed in history, heroes, and high speeds with a VIP tour of Daytona International Speedway. Brought to you by visitflorida.com. Make the vacation you long for even longer at visitflorida.com and WTIC News Talk 1080.
It's 6:51. Somebody who has written about John Kennedy extensively is a professor, adjunct professor of history at Quinnipiac University, also a graduate of Providence College, I might add. Phil Goduti. Good morning, Professor. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you?
You have studied the that's fortuitous you're on. Tell us about some of your impressions, because you've written a book about his kitchen cabinet. You've written quite a bit.
I have, and it's been a lot of fun doing it. His presidency was a different version of a presidency that the country had really ever seen. He was young, had a beautiful family, charmingly witty. He got better as his presidency moved forward, learning as he went to confront issues, using his advisors in such a way to inform his decision-making, not always taking their advice, which is something we rarely see in presidential politics.
Well, let me ask you this. Of substance, you're hinting at there was substance involved. I think a lot of people say,
Absolutely.
oh, well, it was style. But, I mean, there was a lot more going on than that.
Absolutely. For example, in foreign affairs, he learned a lot in 1961 through failures with the Bay of Pigs, his Vienna summit with Khrushchev, but he gained great success with the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, staving off war, finding his own voice, learning how to make decisions as a leader, and he felt confident enough in 1963 to begin to offer his own doctrine on how he wanted to confront the Soviets with his American University speech, where he invoked peace and cooperation, but at the same time, he showed that he would hold firm with his Berlin speech of the same month. So he had a lot of success toward the end of his presidency as opposed to at the beginning, especially with foreign affairs.
One of the other things that was just coming to the forefront, and that, of course, was civil rights and so on and so forth. You can talk about Little Rock and you can talk about President Eisenhower. But where was he? Because I know you did write a piece on, in fact, it was a book on Robert Kennedy, his brother. So where was he on this? I've heard stories that he was kind of on the fence, probably for political reasons more than anything.
Absolutely, and this is one of my favorite things to talk about. In civil rights, Kennedy was slow out of the gates, but in the end, he moved the nation to embrace a new climate. Through his leadership, and especially with his June 1963 civil rights speech, he moved civil rights from a political issue to a moral issue. With Bobby Kennedy, his brother had a huge influence in this aspect of the presidency. He made great strides to redefine civil rights in the eyes of the law when he was Attorney General. With the Freedom Rides in 1961, the integration of Ole Miss in 1962, and the integration of the University of Alabama in 1963. Ultimately, they support the March on Washington, which really supported Kennedy's civil rights legislation. But what we see here, and one of the things that John Kennedy had asked his brother when he asked him to be Attorney General, was, look, I want to change the climate in this nation, and I need somebody with me to do that. I need somebody who I can trust. And I believe that you're that person. So he went into the administration looking to do that.
Well, the name of the book, by the way, if you'd like to pick it up, it's Robert F. Kennedy and the Shaping of Civil Rights, 1960 to 64. The author is Philip Goduti, Goduti Jr. Hey, I wish we had an hour, but we don't, sadly. This is a short little hole here, but thank you very much for sharing with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. It's 6:55.
This fall, preset 1080 for Connecticut's News Talk with traffic and weather together on the 8s. WTIC and WTIC HD Hartford.
7 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Angela Dias, WTIC 1080 News. This news sponsored by Connecticut Toyota Dealers. The driver of a Ford Explorer is dead after the vehicle hit a stone wall on Route 16 in East Hampton early today. 2 passengers were injured. Bloomfield police are investigating a fatal stabbing last night. Police responded to 24 Hill Farm Road after receiving a report about a group of males fighting in the front yard. A 27-year-old man was killed. 2 other people were taken to the hospital for treatment of stab wounds. A UConn student from Coventry has been arrested by the U.S. Secret Service after allegedly sending a message to the White House website in which he threatened to kill President Obama and his family. 32-year-old Joshua Klimas is an engineering student. These 2 freshmen tell News 8.
It's really crazy to think about it because you don't think of this type of stuff to happen at colleges. I don't know. It's very scary because I feel like he might threaten to kill anybody else on the campus.
A Hartford federal judge ordered Klimas to be admitted to a hospital for psychiatric evaluation as the nation remembers President John F. Kennedy on the 50th anniversary of his death. Governor Malloy has ordered flags to be flown at half-staff in Connecticut. November 22nd, 1963 was a typical Friday here at WTIC. Host Floyd Richards was sharing advice and recipes with listeners on the telephone mic line program when announcer Bob Ellsworth broke in.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
And thank you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye. When is the best time to trim young maple trees?
Floyd, I have something rather important from the WTIC newsroom in the form of a bulletin. President Kennedy is reported to have been wounded by an assassin in Dallas, Texas. There are no further details available at this time. We repeat, President Kennedy has been wounded by an assassin in Dallas, Texas. We will have further details as received.
Men's college basketball last night. UConn men defeated Boston College 72-70. In the NHL, it was St. Louis over the Boston Bruins 3-2. Rangers beat Dallas 3-2. And the Devils skated by the LA Kings 2-1.
Remember Thanksgiving as a child? The day when Grandma's kitchen came alive with wonderful aromas. You knew what was coming, and you couldn't wait. Cranberries and homemade stuffing. Why did it always taste better on this day? Delicious winter squash with that special touch of brown sugar that just added to Grandma's fame. And when you bit into that tender, moist turkey, knowing the pumpkin pie was next, well, you just knew that this was the reason for having taste buds. Thanksgiving. Good feelings, great food, and precious memories. A day of traditions that began when you were a child and are still with you today. Thanksgiving is a special day for you, your family, and friends. A time to gather, reflect, and say thanks for all you have. Happy Thanksgiving from all of us at your neighborhood Big Y world-class market. Only the best for your family from ours.
Are you a practicing physician? If so, you face the tough challenge of providing the highest quality of care for your patients. Choose Coveris, the largest provider of medical liability protection in Connecticut, for the expertise, protection, and support you deserve. Coveris is committed to delivering outstanding service to the healthcare community and will proactively work with you to minimize risk and improve patient safety and care. Coveris currently provides protection to more than 20,000 physicians, surgeons, dentists, hospitals, and healthcare providers in 22 states from coast to coast. As a policyholder, if you have questions about risks in your practice, you can call our Risk Management Representative of the Day telephone line. And if you should face a claim, Coveris will aggressively defend good medicine and provide the emotional support you need. Coveris has the financial stability to provide the coverage you need today and in the future. Coveris. Call 888-776-6888 or log on to Coveris.com.
WTIC News Time 7:04. The Connecticut Sentencing Commission is being urged to resurrect its recommendation to the General Assembly that individuals with long sentences for serious crimes committed when they were under 18 get a chance at parole. Numerous relatives and friends of inmates appeared at yesterday's hearing to speak in favor of the proposed legislation. Lori Council, mother of a young offender, told the panel
he does want to change. He wants the opportunity to, a second chance at life to be a better person. He's expressed to me how sorry he is. He wished he never done it, but he done things that he can't take back now.
John Clooney, whose wife and son were murdered by a 15-year-old neighbor, says he's concerned the proposal would significantly reduce the sentence of his family's killer.
He gets good time as it is. Good time is amounts to 18 years off a 60-year sentence. That means you serve 42 years or 21 years of murder, and now you want to shorten that. Put him on parole.
A bill on juvenile sentences died in last year's legislative session. A civil rights group is going to federal court in New York today to argue that federal information gathering programs should be halted. Correspondent Dan Raviv reports.
One of the attorneys for the American Civil Liberties Union, Alex Abdo, notes that previous challenges to NSA surveillance were thrown out when judges declared there's no proof that the plaintiff has been harmed in any way.
This time, there's no question that the government is collecting the phone records of virtually every American, the ACLU included.
Because former NSA worker Edward Snowden leaked the existence of the phone call tracking program this lawsuit is seeking to stop. Dan Raviv, CBS News.
Senate Democrats have exercised the so-called nuclear option and gotten rid of the filibuster for nominations. Bob Fuss reports.
It's been younger senators like Jeff Merkley of Oregon who pushed hardest to change these rules, arguing the filibuster makes it impossible to get things done.
We have had a form of paralysis that has afflicted this institution, and it has done great disservice to the American people.
But it gives power to the minority, right now the Republicans, which is why they're so upset. Senator Lamar Alexander.
It's another raw exercise of political power to permit the majority to do anything it wants whenever it wants to do it.
Regular bills can still be filibustered, but not nominees. Bob Fuss, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Newtown First Selectman Pat Lodra has called on state prosecutors to release recordings of 911 calls from the Sandy Hook elementary school shootings. She told Hearst, Connecticut newspapers that releasing the recordings will end leaks to media outlets that she says are painful to family members and Newtown officials. She compared the leaks to Chinese water torture. Philippine officials say the post-typhoon situation is stabilizing, though the death toll has passed 5,000. Authorities say major roads on Samar and Leyte Islands are clear of debris, while some banks, stores, and gasoline stations are resuming business. Officials still expect the death toll to climb further. And new movies in theaters this weekend. The Hunger Games: Catching Fire, based on the second book in the young adult series, gets 2.5 stars out of 4 from USA Today. And Delivery Man, a comedy starring Vince Vaughn, gets 2 out of 4 stars.
Earlier this week, Angela, you had the story about, what was it, the Oxford Dictionary that added selfie as the word of the year?
Word of the year, yeah.
Well, we have a new phenomenon showing up. It's called braggies. And the deal there is, let's say, for example, you go on vacation. Mm-hmm. Okay. The estimate is within 5 to 7 minutes, a number of people have admitted that they instantly send out a braggie to show themselves at their vacation destination.
I don't think that's so much different than from decades ago when people used to show their slides of their vacations.
Well, and of course,
it's just quicker, but...
And, of course, we remember the, what was it, Up in the Air, where he took the picture of that couple. Who was it, George Clooney? Was that the guy? Remember that one?
Yes.
And he had that picture of me packed, and he'd take a picture of them in all these locations he was visiting and firing people. Yeah.
Right.
That was fun. Gee, that's a great holiday movie. I think I'll watch that. It's 8:08 on WTIC News Talk 1080. And it's such a cheery, bright day anyway. Here's Jerry Griswold. Jerry's in WTIC's Traffic Control. Good morning to you, Jerry. But
yeah.
Not so good. But, well, go ahead and brief us here.
It's been kind of a crazy day out here, Ray. I mean, the roads are wet, and it's triggered some problems, and they continue to persist. We clean something up, and then something else happens. We're looking at very slow-moving volume up the northbound side of Route 9. There was an accident, or could be still working, near the 72 split. A report, state police are saying the accident cleared, but cell cars are still saying that a left lane is blocked in that area. So watch out for heavy delays out between exit 23 all the way up into Cedar Street. A very busy day out there. On the eastbound side of 84 through the Waterbury corridor, you're still still a little bit busy from exit 23 to 25A. Heavy stop and go greets you Route 9 northbound between exit 12 and 16 in Middletown. Off we go to Hartford. Mike Allen driving Farmington Banks, car 1.
Thank you, Jerry. The drive eastbound 84 is tied up from about exit 39A in Farmington, remaining tied up through 44 Prospect Oakwood. Westbound 84, you're a little slow out in Vernon by exit 63. Stop and go on East Hartford. Approaching Governor Street into downtown. Southbound 91. Loses some speed up around exits 37 and 38 and 37. Stop and go passing 36 down toward the 84 interchange. We still have an accident as of a short time ago on Rocky Hill between exits 24 and 23, right side of the highway. I'd expect a momentary slowdown going by that. Northbound 91 loses speed in Weathersfield approaching exit 25, the Putnam Bridge, to run into some stop and go on Hartford near exit 27 Brainerd Road. Route 2 westbound is heavy approaching and passing exit 5D in Glastonbury. You're slow in East Hartford from exit 4 to the 84 West exit.
We do have an accident in Milford taking a left traveling on 95 northbound up by exit 40 with stop and go beginning at exit 39A. The southbound side of 95 is packed into New Haven out of exit 51 Frontage Road to the Q. Traffic and weather together on the 8s on WTIC News Talk 1080.
The Johnson Bernetti Player of the Game contest is your chance to win tickets to a UConn men's or women's home basketball game. Simply listen to the games on WTIC News Talk 1080. Joe D and Bob Joyce will announce the Player of the Game during the postgame show. Then tune in the next morning at 7:20. When Ray asks for the Player of the Game, be the correct caller and know the name to win. The Johnson Bernetti Retirement and Investment Specialist Player of the Game on WTIC News Talk 1080 and WTIC.com.
Cloudy, milder with periods of rain through early afternoon. High around 50 today. That's nice. Passing shower this evening, then clearing, becoming breezy. Lows in the 30s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and breezy. Morning highs in the 40s, then falling through the afternoon. 43 right now at the weather station, WTIC. Very quickly, let's do the Johnson Bernetti Player of the Game. Johnson Bernetti is Connecticut's retirement and investment specialists. Men won last night at the Garden. If you were tuned in at the end of the game, Joe told you the player of the game was, so let's do it now. 1-800-966-WTIC, 522-WTIC, star WTIC, 9842, if you'd like a translation there, transpose it into numbers. Anyway, and we'll take caller 7. All right, caller 7, so good luck. You'll get tickets to an upcoming game at the XL Center at 7:21. Today is November 22nd, 2013. It is the 50th anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And if you were listening to WTIC, here's part of what you might have heard.
This is WTIC, AM and FM, Hartford. This is Dick Bertel. In place of our usual Americana program this afternoon, we are going to present a program of music in order to keep you completely informed on the condition of President Kennedy, shot down this afternoon in Dallas, Texas.
And that's Dick Bertel, who joins us now for a few moments this morning. You were there. Good morning, Dick. First of all, it's an honor to speak to you.
Well, good morning to you, Ray.
All right. Boy, you still have it. My goodness. And you're 90, I believe, right? You know, Dick, I just read a piece this morning off the Atlantic, and the story was that today only about a third of the population was alive on that day when the assassination occurred. Can you just take us through it, what it was like for you? When did you first hear, so on and so forth?
Yeah, well, I had the opportunity to review the tapes a couple of days ago, and so it refreshes my memory. But a program called Mike Line was on the air. Floyd Richards and Bob Ellsworth were the hosts of the program. And about 1:35 in the afternoon, 1:36, something like that, the first bulletin came through. And, of course, they were shocked, as was everybody who heard this information. And they went back to the program, not knowing what else to do, continued it for a while, and then other bulletins began to come in, and they broadcast those, and we were hoping to be able to join NBC Radio, but NBC Radio didn't go on the air until about 2 o'clock.
You know, a couple of things that impressed me, because I did watch the video, and we do have a link up, so if you would like to see it, you certainly may. But it's interesting for a number of reasons. Number one, the one video has our air, which has been recorded, and it's posted on YouTube. And then they have a timeline, essentially, on the screen. The video, essentially, is what was going on at that time in Dallas. It's really pretty interesting. It truly is.
Oh, of course it is. You know, the thing that struck me, Ray, was the fact that as advanced as we thought we were in those days,
right,
the coverage is, for the first hour or so, rather primitive as compared to what we could do today with satellites and so on. But they were relying on telephones, There was no direct link up to Dallas at all. That didn't occur until about an hour and a half to 2 hours later.
Oof. And you can hear from the tape, the two men are on the air, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, and there's precious little information. So, you go to some Mantovani tunes. I mean, there are a number of things that come on just to basically fill air. Because one thing I thought was different, Dick, was that a lot of times now you just go wall to wall. It's speculation. Well, this could have happened, and maybe this is happening. You didn't do that.
We really weren't permitted to do that. It's certainly not at WTIC, and in those days. You reported the news as you got it, and you were not permitted to speculate at all. And I think that's the difference. But, covering it at those very early minutes was like being at the bottom of a swimming pool and trying to describe what was going on at the surface. I mean, it was so difficult.
And one thing that occurred to me, and just watching the video and all, of course, obviously there was the Zapruder film, which has been studied and studied and studied and studied. Were that to happen today, and as I said, God forbid, but were it to happen, with everybody with their phones, with the cameras and all this, there would have been more video than you could process.
Absolutely. And if you notice watching television, so much of it is 8mm film taken by home movies,
Yeah. It's really, and of course I was on the air for 9/11, and I remember being here, and of course we had CBS because we can hook them up instantly. It's not a problem. They're fed in all the time. But you also had the internet. And Dick, that goes back to what you were talking about. If you were on the internet that day, as I was, you'd see a lot of reports that were posted by people. Right. Some of them true, some of them not. A lot of false information gets out that way.
Absolutely. And certainly we didn't broadcast any false information. I guess there was a dearth of information at first.
Oh, yeah.
And that was not only WTIC, that was the network as well. I mean, we just did not have information. Of course, everything came together, I would say, within an hour and a half, and things flowed very smoothly after that. And, of course, as anybody who lived through that time knows, the television coverage of the next 3 days was phenomenal. It was just so well done.
Well, listen, Dick, it's an honor to finally get to speak to you, and I hope if you ever get up here, say hi, please.
Will do.
All right, Dick Bertel, ladies and gentlemen. He was on the air when it happened 50 years ago. 7:26.
WTIC Sports with Scott Gray.
It was a heart-stopping return to Madison Square Garden for the 18th-ranked UConn men's basketball team. The Huskies blew an 11-point lead, but held on tight for a 72-70 win over Boston College in the first meeting between the two teams in nearly a decade. The Huskies had a 2-point lead with 2.1 seconds left, and the Eagles tried to set up a 3-point attempt for the win, but the final shot was blocked by Ryan Boatwright to preserve the victory. The Huskies were led by DeAndre Daniels with 23 points and Shabazz Napier with 20. They turned the ball over just 3 times, matching the program low set against Notre Dame in 2011, and that was a source of pride for Coach Kevin Ollie.
Yeah, we took care of the ball, and that's when you shoot 39%. You have to have those type of games. Last year we wasn't a great rebounding team, so that's how we stayed in the game. We stayed in the game by free throw shooting, not turning the ball over, and being efficient on the offensive end. So we did that tonight, not efficient on the offensive end, but 3 turnovers. I usually tell the guys if we're under 10, the coaches got to run sprints. So I think we got to hold them 7 sprints when we get back to stores. So.
Last night's action was in the 2K Sports Classic, and tonight the Huskies take on Indiana in the championship game, 7 o'clock on TIC. Men's top 10, 10th-ranked VCU was an 18-point loser to unranked Florida State. College recruiting's early signing period saw UConn land 2 blue-chip guards, Sam Castle Jr. of Baltimore and Daniel Hamilton of L.A. Women's 10, easy wins all around for 2nd-ranked Duke, 4th-ranked Louisville, 7th-ranked Kentucky, and 9th-ranked Baylor. Locally, St. Joseph down Mitchell, 84-66 tonight. In women's hoops, top-ranked UConn takes a 5-0 record into first-round Hall of Fame Classic action against Boston University in the first game of a Gamble doubleheader. Even without Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis and Morgan Tuck out with injuries, the Huskies greatly overmatched the Terriers, but UConn coach Gino Auriemma says you have to treat these games as opportunities.
It's November, and it's a 3-game stretch that if you have 9 or 10 players, you feel like it's an opportunity to get a lot of people a lot of playing time and try to do a lot of different things combination-wise. And see people in different parts of the floor that maybe you wouldn't see, but that's kind of been taken away from us now.
7 o'clock airtime on WTI, or on our sister station, I should say, 96.5 TIC FM. In the first game at Gamble, Monmouth takes on St. Bonaventure at 5 o'clock. College football AAC, 17th ranked Central Florida 41, Rutgers 17. Men's college soccer, UConn 2, Quinnipiac 1 in first round NCAA tournament action. The Huskies visit Maryland, Baltimore County Sunday in round 2. Thursday night in the NFL, Saints 17, Falcons 13. The Saints are 9-2, the Falcons 2-9, and officially out of contention in the NFC South. NBA wins for the Nuggets and Thunder. The locals were off. NHL, the Bruins fell to the Blues in a shootout. The Devils down the Kings in overtime. And the Rangers held off the Stars 3-2 behind 41 saves from Henrik Lundqvist. Wins for the Flyers, Predators, Red Wings, Blackhawks, Sharks, Avalanche, and Oilers. Baseball Players Union Chief Michael Weiner passed away yesterday, 15 months after being diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor. Weiner succeeded Donald Fehr as Union Chief. Fehr had succeeded Union founder Marvin Miller. Weiner will be succeeded by former big league all-star Tony Clark. Michael Weiner was 51 years old. I'm Scott Gray. I'll be back with the WTIC 1080 sports commentary at 8:10.
40 years ago, after failing to find an authentic New York style and Jewish delicatessen in Connecticut, Bob Ryan opened his own world-famous Ryan's Deli in Vernon. From Reubens to lox to matzo balls, knishes and latkes to blintzes and rugula, take your bite of the Big Apple. Come to Ryan's in Vernon and experience why we've won the Hartford area's award for Best Deli 25 times. Located just off I-84 at Exit 65 in Vernon. Ryan's Deli, traditional New York style and Jewish deli. Food that feeds the soul and warms the heart. Times are tough for families across Connecticut. A serious illness may be the thing that breaks the bank or makes a patient have to choose between food or the medication they need to stay well. The physicians of the Connecticut State Medical Society know that patients are hurting financially. They're here to help. If you do not have prescription drug coverage, ask your doctor if they're a member of the Connecticut State Medical Society. Our members have free prescription discount cards to give to patients like you. You don't have to sign up for anything. The cards are accepted at 65,000 pharmacies across the country, and you can save as much as 50% on your medication. If you're a physician who'd like a supply of free prescription discount cards, call the CSMS office. If you're a patient without prescription drug benefits, ask your physician for a free discount card. Since 1792, the Connecticut State Medical Society has been dedicated to a healthier Connecticut. The Connecticut State Medical Society. Is your doctor a member?
UConn. Napier on the perimeter. Works away from the double team.
Huskies.
Gets a goodbye screen behind the back to him. Tries it again.
Basketball.
And that's good! Oh, my! Niels Gaffar!
Tune in tonight at 7 for the championship game in the 2K Sports Classic from MSG. Remember, the Huskies play here on WTIC News Talk 1080.
It's 8:12 on WTIC. All right, with a comment on sports, here's Scott Gray.
It is said that sports are like a mirror on life. I suppose that's true. Many of the lessons learned on the field of athletic endeavor are microcosms of the greater lessons we learn in life. In other ways, sports and real life are often intertwined, serving as a reminder of the importance sports play in our lives. I am reminded of as much on this date every year when I recall the events of November 22nd, 1963. It's one of those moments never forgotten, the details as frozen in our minds as the moment itself is frozen in time. It was a Friday afternoon like any other in the life of a high school student, one whose attention was focused more frequently on the sports venues than the classrooms. I was in the locker room at Manchester High School changing for an intramural basketball game. The atmosphere was like that in any locker room of the era, though we didn't realize at the time how much of a mirror of life it would become as the seemingly harmless chatter and antics of that day would escalate to the situation society is confronted with today. The usual insults, who would clean whose clock once the game started, were sprinkled in the usual Friday conversation about Saturday football games and Saturday night dates. Jack Early, the senior boys gym teacher and director of intramurals, entered the locker room and changed our lives forever. Intramurals are canceled for today, he announced. The president has been shot. In total silence, we dressed back into our street clothes. In those days, we were taught and had an appreciation for American history. I knew President Kennedy was in Dallas that day. Other than that he had been shot, I knew none of the details. My mind was filled with a vision of John Wilkes Booth stepping from behind a curtain behind Abraham Lincoln. The details of the events of that afternoon in Dallas would unfold nonstop and all too clearly over the next 4 days as television grew out of its infancy and became our constant companion. The sports world would find itself embroiled in controversy and intertwined with stark reality when it was decided the National Football League games would be played on Sunday while a nation mourned. The Army-Navy football game was canceled, then rescheduled 2 weeks later because the president, a Navy war hero, would have wanted it to go on. The weekend careened from one event to the other as the man who killed Kennedy was himself assassinated right before our eyes on national television. Lines of people extended for miles from the Capitol building to view the president lying in state. The funeral cortege with the riderless horse, backward boots in its stirrups. John Kennedy Jr. saluting his father as he was carried to his final resting place. For me, the return to normalcy returned to where this journey into darkness had begun, the sports world. Monday afternoon, weary from it all, I took my football outside in search of a friend who wanted to play catch. One by one, they started to come from their homes, my touch football playing buddies, also in search of a return to their lives, and we commandeered an as yet unused acreage in the East Center Cemetery, where every touchdown, every completed pass, every sack led to greater jubilation, and eventually we even looked forward to a return to school the next day and the stability it represented. One of the most indelible images of my life will always be framed by the sports world. It's an important ingredient in what makes us who we are. With a memory from that world, I'm Scott Gray.
Now, a WTIC News Update.
8:30, good morning. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News. An early morning accident in East Hamden leaves one person dead. Just after 1 this morning, police say a car traveling near the intersection of Cedar Ridge Road and Route 16 crossed 16 and hit a stone wall. In addition to the deceased, 2 people sustained serious injuries. Names of those involved have not been released. Anyone with information is being asked to get in touch with the East Hampton PD, the number 860-267-9922. A UConn student from Coventry has been arrested by the Secret Service after sending messages to President Obama that threatened to kill him. 32-year-old Joshua Klimas is an engineering student, background of mental health problems, according to officials. This UConn freshman tells News 8.
Oh, he's an engineering student, so am I. So that's, crazy. I could have have a class with him. That's just, really weird to think about, that I could, be sitting next to him in class and, he's writing a letter to the president saying he wants to kill him.
And he'd been suspended from school in October, is currently not allowed on campus. Back in February of 2012, he sent a similar threatening email to a UConn professor. The principal at Capital Prep Magnet School in Hartford's in hot water after a controversial tweet sent Wednesday morning. Dr. Steve Perry used 140 characters to say, in part, quote, "The only way to lose a fight is to stop fighting. Strap it on. There will be head injuries," end quote. That tweet came after Hartford's Board of Education declined to turn over management of Sand Elementary School in Hartford to nonprofit Capital Prep Schools, Inc., run by Perry. Now, the local teachers union is asking the district and the school board to investigate. City Councilor Joelle Cruz says no matter the tweet, the behavior is unacceptable.
When comments such as those are made, to me it's almost like a disregard of the voices of the parents and the teachers.
Bloomfield police have a fatal stabbing on their hands just after 9 last night. Officers say they responded to 24 Hill Farm Road on the report of a fight taking place in the front yard. On arrival, officers found one person with wounds to the hand. He was treated at the scene. A second person, a 27-year-old male, sustained torso wounds. He was later pronounced dead at St. Francis Hospital and Medical Center. No arrests have been made. State Police Major Crimes Division is assisting in the investigation. For the first time since 2009, Connecticut's unemployment rate is below 8%. The story from WTIC's Matt Dwyer.
State Labor Department Research Director Andy Conn says the unemployment rate dropped by 0.1 of a percentage point each of the last 2 months.
In terms of job growth trajectory, we are both Connecticut and the country are moving along a modest growth path, which is positive, but not enough to significantly drive down the unemployment rate yet.
Even though the unemployment rate improved, the state lost about 4,000 jobs over the same period. The numbers come from different surveys. The surveys sometimes disagree. Matt Dwyer, WTIC 1080 News.
Sports last night, UConn men edged BC 72-70. On ice in the NHL, it was the Blues over the Bruins in a shootout 3-2. Rangers topped Dallas 3-2. And the Devils in overtime beat the Kings 2-1.
Do you know your responsibilities under Obamacare? Most small businesses don't. In fact, we know many of you are worried and confused about healthcare reform and its impact on your business. CBIA can help. For nearly 2 decades, we've been your trusted healthcare partner and advisor. CBIA Health Connections, the state's leading health insurance exchange, helps thousands of Connecticut small businesses meet the benefit needs of their employees. CBIA offers much more than great insurance products and services. We offer you peace of mind and guidance as you face the challenges ahead. Our experts are just a phone call away with the right advice and the right solutions for your company and employees. We're here to make sure you meet your obligations and get quick, accurate answers to all your questions. Obamacare is complicated. CBIA makes it easier for you. Contact your agent or visit CBIA.com.
CBIA Health Connections, the power of choice.
Join the Hartford Symphony Pops for Symphonic Sondheim, Saturday, November 23rd at the Bushnell. Experience the splendor of the HSO and Broadway stars performing the music of composer Stephen Sondheim, including songs from Follies, A Little Night Music, Company, Into the Woods, Putting It Together, Sunday in the Park with George, Sweeney Todd, and more. For tickets, call 860-244-2999 or visit hartfordsymphony.org.
WTIC News Time, 8:36. The news sponsored by Connecticut Automotive Retailers Association. 50 years ago today, CBS newsman Walter Cronkite confirmed what had been reported earlier on.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
Now here on WTIC, listeners to Mike Line were readying for Thanksgiving.
I'd like to ask about that method of baking the turkey in a paper bag.
That is until WTIC's Bob Ellsworth broke in.
You hold it just a minute, Roz. Sure. We have some.
Here are further details from the WTIC newsroom. President Kennedy and Governor John B. Connally of Texas were cut down by an assassin's bullets.
The information at first was sketchy before the president was confirmed dead. No bilateral meetings between the U.S. and Iran are planned after the one that was scheduled was canceled for no reason.
I have just been told by a source very close to the Iranian negotiating team that it doesn't have to do with the U.S. explicitly saying Iran has a right to enrich uranium, that can be looked after in diplomatic language that doesn't explicitly recognize Iran's right but doesn't outlaw it either.
That's CBS News correspondent Elizabeth Palmer in Geneva. Finally, Ray, the fans who go to see the Oklahoma City Thunder seem to be pretty good shooters themselves. For the second time this year, Thunder fans made a half-court shot to win $20,000 in a bank promotion. Brad Brucker is 33. He's a teacher at a high school out there. He made the mid-court shot last night during the Thunder's 105-91 win over the Clippers. Brucker says the experience didn't feel real. I wonder.
Yeah, I guess. By the way, I've been taking a survey today. Well, I came across this deal where essentially only a third of Americans were alive that day in 1963. Mm-hmm. And I know Bob wasn't. Were you?
I was 8 months old.
You were 8 months old.
Yes.
So very little you remember.
No, I don't.
I think I was 10. Yeah, so that was kind of going to lunch at school.
Right.
And then the first thing we heard was, it was a hunting accident. And I'm going, wait a minute. Hunting?
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, nobody knew anything.
Well,
as Dick was saying, you didn't know anything. I mean, you're in the dark. 8:38 WTIC. Thanks, John. Driving weather together on the 8s. This is just, seriously. Mark, it's let's stay in bed day. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Mark Christopher is here from WTIC's Traffic Control. Let's take a look at the road ahead.
All right, Ray, thank you very much. Let's get it right into Hartford. Mike Allen has the latest update on our Friday morning commute, WTIC. Farmington Bank Car 1. Mike?
Thanks, Mark. Westbound 84 commuters still have an accident to deal with on the right shoulder in East Hartford, a little after the 384-59 on-ramp.
Your attention, please. The weekend is landing.
The weekend is coming. How will the weather affect your plans?
We're going to have a good time.
Local weather on the air and online. WTIC. News Talk 1080 and WTIC.com.